think we are live now, Joe.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Fine.
Okay. Okay. Great. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Funsho Akirile, and I'm here again with us. I think for the third time on the PL-900 training. On the PL-900 training, and I'm sure it's been quite an interesting journey so far. So just a quick recap on what we did last week. So last week we looked at Power Apps, and we are reviewing the scenario with the Bellows College, where we are digitizing the process of automating. Let me say that we are digitizing the process of managing visitors when they come on the campus, where we have the host pre-registering the visitors, and then the visitors will then be the data will be captured inside of Power Apps, and we were using Dataverse as the data source that we are using in this Canvas and app, and also the same as in the model-driven application. So today I'll be running us through the module 4, which is getting started with Power Automate. And in this module, we will be looking at the overview, where we are going to be looking at the overview of Power Automate and how you can build an automated solution. So on to the lesson 1. So in the lesson 1 here, we're going to be learning about the business value and also the features of Power Automate, and also would further look into seeing how Power Automate works and also how it looks from a user's perspective. So to start with, the value of Power Automate. Power Automate brings you the capability of you building automated workflows, and those workflows that you are building, this automated workflow will cut across the several applications that you are using as of this very moment within your organization. So when you think of Power Automate, the first thing that should come to mind is you having the capability of building automated workflows that is going to cut across several applications and services that you have access to within your organization. Okay. Also, if these data sources are also outside the organization, you can as well still connect to those data sources, so as for you to be able to leverage the data that is on those applications or on those services. Now, to add to that, you can automate common scenarios. So you might have, let's say, I love to use this example a lot. You might have, let's say, a weekly report that is on Power BI, and this weekly report, you would like to share this weekly report to your management staffs. And how can you do that? Now, you can build an automated workflow, okay, to trigger on a certain day of the week, let's say a Friday at let's say 9 a.m. And once that flow triggers, it captures information, and then it goes into Power BI. Okay, it refreshes the data set, and then you can export a PDF of your dashboard, and then you can share that PDF in an email with other members of the management staff. Now that is you building an automated workflow. Now this workflows, if it's going to be weekly, it means it's a type of repetitive task. So you wouldn't have to manually assign individuals, or you wouldn't have to manually yourself go to the Power BI, do the refresh, export the data or export the file, and then share via email, when you can have a Power Automate configure to help you to do this. We also have common scenarios like you building a business process flow that provides guidance, okay, for users on how they can follow through with a process within your application. Okay, and also if you want to connect to external data sources such as SQL, or such as let me say on-premise data sources in this quest. That is data sources that you have on a local machine. So you can actually build a connector, or you could even use the you could even use the on-premise capability for you to extend connection to your on-premise data sources, but that would enable you to configure a gateway to do that. And when you're using a gateway, ensure the region of the environment where you are building the flow is the same as the region configured in the gateway in your on-premise server. Okay, so as for you to establish a connection, and the environment can communicate with that data gateway. And also we have the last on the list here, automating desktop-based processes. When you're automating desktop-based processes, what it simply means is that you are automating processes that includes legacy applications, applications that are executed directly from your machine. They are not connected to any web API, okay? And even in some Quest, it's connected to a web API, but within the intranet of the organization, you can actually build what we call a robotic processing automation flow to help you to perform automation of desktop-based processes. So we have an example of a flow here where you can see a trigger, okay, which is the Power Apps trigger on the top right here, where a Power Apps button is clicked in a Canvas app, and then we have another card here which is going to perform what is called an action. Okay, so a flow comprises of what we call triggers and actions. So this is a trigger, and we have multiple actions. Okay, in your Power Automate flow, we're going to be a comprehensive example of this when we move further down the slide. Now, with Power Automate, you get to scale automation efficiently. Why? Because there are pre-built templates that Microsoft has made available, 1,001 of them. So all you need to do is search with some certain keywords. So for instance, if I have a Salesforce environment and I want to include Salesforce in my automation process, now Microsoft has pre-built templates on the Power Automate website, which is the make.powerautomate.com. When you visit there, you will be able to navigate to the template area where you will be seeing templates that can help you to fast build your own automation process. Okay, and also currently Microsoft has up to, I think it's even now more than 600, I think near 800 or even past 800 connectors. Okay, remember we said connectors are the bridge that allows us to reach our data and also issue commands to our data sources, meaning we can perform actions via the connectors. Now, these connectors, Microsoft has made available over 600 of them to your favorite apps and services. So you can also include them in your automation process so as for you to scale to also automate across your favorite apps and services. Now, with Power Automate, it is even more interesting for you to integrate it with the Microsoft ecosystem. So if your organization is currently using Microsoft Azure, then it is so much interesting that you can still integrate Power Automate with your Azure activities, okay? Like setting up a pipeline or even connecting to Azure Blob Storage and things like that. And also, if you have Microsoft 365, even more interesting because you can build automation processes that would cut across applications and services such as Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, Excel, Planner, and several other Microsoft 365 application. And if it is the Dynamics 365, you can also include Power Automate in the automation processes. Okay, in Dynamics 365, we have things such as email to case, ARCs, that's automatic record creation flows, and these flows they actually workflows previously that are now converted into Power Automate that allows or that enhances the capability of you being able to perform some automation processes across several applications via the Dynamics 365 applications, either customer service, sales, marketing, or the rest of them. And also, like I explained in the previous slide, the on-premise data sources that you have, you can also easily integrate your Power Automate with these on-premise data sources. And even if your data as well in the cloud, you can also do the same to connect to those data sources that you have in the cloud. Now, here we have an example of a purchase order approval flow. Now, in this purchase order approval flow, we have a Power Apps trigger, meaning that this flow is connected to a Canvas application. Now, once the purchase order is requested by, let's say, a staff within the organization, you can see that we have an Office 365 action card in this flow. And in the Office 365 action card, we are performing an action of getting a manager, okay, of getting a manager. And if you look closely, we have what is called a dynamic content, which looks like a placeholder, and this placeholder holds dynamic values. Okay, so here we have the Power Automate triggering once the button flow is clicked, and then the user, okay, will trigger the flow. The manager of the user is gotten at this point. So let me use this opportunity to explain what a dynamic content is. So a dynamic content, you get to pass it. It helps you to hold values, okay, from a card that is above. Okay, so if you want to pass values from one step to another in your Power Automate flow, you can use dynamic content or you can use expressions. But in this case, we are using dynamic content. So that's why you'd see that this dynamic content is having a Power Apps icon, okay, to it. After the user who triggered the flow, his manager is retrieved at this point, connecting to Office 365, okay, that is looking through the AD. Now here we have to start and wait for an approval. Now this is also another action. So here we are having a Power Automate that is sending an approval. So this is you actually building a flow or an automated solution that includes approval process. So here you would then see that in the assigned to field, we have the mail dynamic content. Now this mail dynamic content, you would see that it also comes from the get manager action card that we have right here. So it means the approval will be sent to the email of the manager that is being retrieved. Now, it is not just the mail, okay, that will be retrieved when this action runs. You can get phone number, you can get the position, you can get the email. So these actions, okay, or triggers actually have more than one dynamic content that you can utilize any area of your flow. But here we need just email, okay, because we need to send an approval email to the manager. But if there is a column that says, let's say, text message, then it means we'll be passing in the dynamic content for phone right in here. Now, after the manager receives this approval, what happens next? Now there is a condition. Now in this condition, we are checking if the outcome, now this is also another dynamic content, okay? So we are checking for the outcome of the approval of the manager of the user. If the amount of what was requested, okay, let's say okay, at this point, if it is approved, that is if the outcome is approved, then we have a conditioning, which is we have a yes and a no branch. So when you add conditions to your flow, you'll be having yes and no branching. Now here we're checking if the outcome is either approved or is rejected. Now if it is rejected, that is if it is not equal to approved, then the flow goes to the right hand side, which is the no side, and the user gets a feedback email saying the purchase order was rejected. Now on the left hand side, which is the yes part, meaning that it was approved by the manager. However, there is a second layer of check or approval. That is, we want to confirm if the amount, okay, of the purchase order is actually higher than a certain value. And in this value, it is 10,000. Now we have another condition, meaning if the amount is above 10,000, then we want a vice principal to approve this purchase order. But if it is less than 20,000, then the user receives an email saying that this purchase order was approved, and then we have a terminate card which ends the entire process. But if the VP, if it is more than 10,000 and the VP approves, then the user still then gets the email confirming that his purchase order is being approved. So this is a typical example of a Power Automate flow. Let's move further and look at the types of flows that you can create with Power Automate. So we have three types of flow that you can create. One of them is the cloud flow. Now we have cloud flows, and under the cloud flows, we have the three types of flows under the cloud flows, which are the automated cloud flow, the scheduled cloud flow, and the manually triggered cloud flow. That's the instant cloud flow. So that those are the three cloud flows that we have. Okay. Now under cloud flows, we have those three that I've just mentioned: automated cloud flow, um, instant cloud flow, and then the scheduled cloud flow. Now, these three cloud flows I've just mentioned, these are cloud flows that are event driven. Okay, when I mean event driven, they can be triggered based on events, such as you pushing a virtual button, like the button we just saw in, or like the flow which we just previously saw. Okay, now that flow would have a virtual button in a Canvas application. And also we have the automated cloud flow, that is a flow that executes whenever an action is performed on an application or in a service. For example, when an item is created in a SharePoint list, or let's say in a leave request SharePoint list. Okay, when a new email arrives my inbox. Now those are the automated cloud flows. The users does not need to have access to that flow majorly, okay, because the flow will run once an action is performed on the connected service. Okay, then the flow triggers. And then we have the scheduled cloud flow. So for scheduled cloud flows, these flows run when you set at the time of which you set it to execute. Now, coming down to the business process flow. Business process flow is a unique kind of flow that actually works best, or works majorly, or even works at all with Dataverse and model driven application, MDA. So business process flow helps augment the processes with model driven application and Dataverse. Then we have the desktop flow, which is the robotic processing automation cloud, robotic processing automation flow. Okay, so now apart from you just building an automated cloud flow, or cloud flows or Power Automate flows, you can also bring the functionality of artificial intelligence, that is AI builder, into your automation process. Now, you can take advantage of these AI capabilities, but first of all, you would need to build your AI models. Now, if you don't even want to build the AI models, Microsoft has made available to you some out of the box models that you can use right into production. Okay, the form processor is one of them. We have there is one for business scanning of a business card. Okay, that is another one of them. There are tons and tons of them now that Microsoft has actually made available. So if you are wanting to bring the capability of, let's say, identifying objects, okay, in your automation process, like I know the one of I think that should be with G&J Pepsi, whereby they take a picture, okay, from a shelf, and then the AI builder counts the item on the shelf and then sends an approval process if there is a short of stock, and then it's then sent to the procurement to then make a restock, and production continues like that. So for Power Automate, it can actually be in an email whereby an image is attached, or let's say a form, or let's say a receipt or an invoice is received in an email, and you want to process that receipt or that invoice to extract text from it and reuse those text in your other automated processes, or you saving the values in that PDF or in that file that was shared, which is the invoice or the receipt, into let's say a SharePoint list or Dataverse, or even an Excel file. So we have several AI capabilities that you can harness to bring AI capability of functionality into your automation processes. Okay, so we wouldn't be doing the summary and the knowledge check for now. So we'll be moving into the how to build of an automated solution. So how can we build an automated solution? Now, building your cloud flow, it is not you building from your IDE, like you having to install an application. Okay, so if you are building an automated solution, the only case where you need to install, okay, a Power Automate desktop is when you are building a desktop automation process. Okay, if you are building a robotic processing automation, that is when you will need to install Power Automate Desktop PAD, and that now comes with most Windows 11 operating system machine. So you can actually install them, okay, if you don't have them, and then you can start building to train that bot, I'll call it, to understand how you operate your application that is installed on your machine. But for the automated cloud flows, you build those flows in the web. Okay, so you need your web browser, and then in your web browser you need to navigate to or launch the link for the make.powerautomate.com, so as for you to be able to connect to your organization tenant, so you can start your building process. Now, we'll be seeing how you can create a flow from templates, and also we'll be seeing how you can create a recurring flow on schedule, and then we'll see how you can create a flow that is triggered by a button. So these are the three cloud flows that are there. And also in the lab, okay, there is an exercise that covers, I think there should be an exercise that covers you automating an approval request. And if there is none, maybe I'll just have to make that into the hands-on demo that I'll be doing right before the end of the course today. So in starting your flow creation process, so there are also several ways of you starting your flow creation. So you can start the creation of your flow as well from a template. Okay, you can start creating of your flow from a template. So 1 second. So I think this might just be the good time to show us the UI of the Power Automate page, so we get to see how it looks like. So you get to the by navigating to make.powerautomate.com. So once you arrive at make.powerautomate.com, you need to authenticate. So I've already authenticated, so that's why it already have my password credential catched, so I can actually just access Power Automate because I'm signed in already, SSO active here. So this is how it looks like, not far from what we saw in Power Apps. And if you look at the search engine here, you can actually type in, okay, like names of flows, information that you want captured or that you want return. You can actually just search right here and you get some feedbacks. And on the right hand side here, you can toggle in between environment. Okay, you can toggle in between environment. So this here we have several practice environments. So you can have many practice and maybe one production environment and other sandbox or trials. So here we have quite a number of I think trial environment, then one default environment that comes with the 10 by default system created, but these are the ones you need to create. So you can toggle between your own environment to ensure you are building in the environment that is designated for development. And on the far right now, Microsoft has added a new feature that wasn't there, I think, about 3 months ago, which is the feature of you looking at the license that your user has. This is one interesting feature that I'm glad Microsoft has added to this Power Platform, especially the Power Automate page. It used to be only on the Canvas, on the Power Apps page, but now we have it here. So thank you, Microsoft, for doing a great job making this available here for us. And amazingly, it tells us what we can do with these licenses. Isn't that interesting? So you actually see the capabilities, okay, of what these licenses you have assigned can do for you. So it means with these licenses that we have, the Power Automate for CCIP chatbot, which is, I believe, for Power Virtual Agent, and two, which is a trial license. And then for the Flow Free, which comes with Office 365 out of the box, here you see we can only work with this one's apart from AI Builder, meaning that AI Builder is licensed separately. That's what basically this means. So thank you, Microsoft, once again for bringing this here. Then if you want to learn more, look into some documentation, read up on desktop flows, or get a data gateway, you can actually, or look into pricing, you can come to the help page right here. And yeah, so this is just my user. So yeah. So looking into here, so we have the home side of things, and if I click on home, you tell you what would you like to automate, and you can actually see samples, or let me call it template, okay, of automation processes that are there. So you can actually see if you're working with emails, we have Gmail here, we have Google Drive, we have Outlook, we have OneDrive, and it means that you can automate processes among. So these are the kind of processes you can automate. So you can just click on them to begin. If it is files, you click on files and you'd see the automation processes that are based on files. Okay, so here is a SharePoint automated workflow that when you can start an approval for a new file to be moved into a different folder. So that is if you're working with, let's say, archival of document, okay, you can actually use this in your process to ensure that no one is putting a document that is not updated or required in a particular destination. So you can actually bring in this to work excellently well. Okay, so oh, sorry, I clicked that. One second. Okay, is there a question in the chat? Let me just take a peep to be sure if there is no question in the chat. Okay, so there is no question in the chat, so we are good to. Oh, okay, there's a question here. Emmanuel is asking, says, is there a trial subscription for Power Ultimate? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. And one of the best ways to just get it, since it's trial, okay, you can simply go to powerapps.microsoft.com. So once you get to perhaps.microsoft.com, you'll be prompted to sign in for trial. So click on Start Free. Okay, click on Start Free. And once you have your Start Free here, okay, you will be able to to have the Power Platform trial license. Okay, Power Apps inclusive, Power Automate inclusive. Yeah, so you'd have it in there. So another way I believe you can have this license if you have access to your admin center. Okay, if you have access to your admin center, so you can actually go to the Office admin center. Okay, that's if you have the access. Then you go under purchase services. That's under billings. You go to purchase services, and then from okay, it's still refreshing my page. Okay, so let me go into purchase services now. Where is it? Purchase services. Then right here, you can actually search for Power Automate. So it's only an admin that will be able to have this being done. Okay, so here you'd see business apps. We have Power Automate, Power User Plan. So this doesn't have a trial. It's paid for. This is paid for. This is paid for. Yep. So all of these are paid for. Yep. So the best way is the first way that I just explained, which is you 1 second, Power Automate, Power User. Yeah. So the best way is for you 1 second, detail. I think per user previously should, but okay, yeah. So per user used to, but you can actually try this out also. Okay, there's a Power Automate per user plan, so you can start the free trial by clicking on Start Free Trial, And once you click on the start free trial, yep, so I'm sure you have this page to try now. And once you are done with this, you are good to go. Okay, you are good to go. So once this goes successfully, yep. So I think that's done. So if you go under your product, you should be able to see all the licenses that you have. So 1 second. Okay, it might take a while to refresh, but still best bet for you to just have it. Ensure you just sign up for the Power Apps trial. That's going to the link that I shared yeah, or the one that I displayed earlier, which is powerapps.microsoft.com. This one. You just go here, sign in, you are good to go. So the trial lasts for the period of 28 days. Okay, that's a month frame, and you can also extend for I think extra 7 days thereabout, so you can actually still extend. Okay, so yeah, so the extension is self-serviced, so you don't need to reach out to Microsoft. You yourself can actually extend this trial. So once it's about expiring or it's expired, you can simply come back to this page and just do start free. Okay, so yeah, so a month period, 28 days period, you can extend for I think another maybe extra 10 days thereabouts. Okay, yeah, so you can actually try that out. I can't give the exact duration of the extension, but I know you would have up to 7 days minimum on your extension. Yep, and I think there's also a cap to how many times you can extend. So yeah, so I think it's good to just you test that out. Okay, so let's dive right back into our Power Automate page. So here's what the home page looks like. And if you go to the approvals tab, you'd see that you would find approvals that you've sent, approvals that you've received, if there are any at all that you have sent or that has come to you from some other users. Then under my flows, you would see that we have cloud flows, we have desktop flows, and we have shared with me. So it means that flows that you build, cloud flows that you've built, you see them here. Desktop flows that you've built on your machine, you'd see them here as well. So I expect none to be here for now because I've not built any. And here you'd find flows that have been shared with you. So if you come to create, then here you'd find the types of flows that you can create. So I made mention earlier of the automated cloud flow. So this is it. You can start creating your automated cloud flow from here, the instant cloud flow from here, the schedule flows from here, then your desktop flows. You can actually start in a way from here, but most times I start from my desktop PC. And this is Process Advisor, which also came out, is new in the block, came out, I think, last year. Yep, I think it went into general availability last year. So if you go to templates, you would find tons of template here. So for instance, to build flow to automate, let's say data collection. So I can actually come to the data collections tab and click on it. And here you can see that there are examples of apps and services that you can automate that has a template already to help you to fast track or begin your automation creation process. So you can actually find them in here. Scroll down and you can just pick any of them. Okay, you can pick any of them. So this, for example, form processing, you can pick on it. I'll be coming right back in to show us how we can start with building this ones. So let's go. So we have connectors. So yeah, so data connectors are very key in the Power Platform. So here you would see the list of all the connectors that Microsoft has made available. But one thing here is there are two categories of them. We have the premium connectors and we have the standard connectors. So premium connectors like this ones you're seeing here, labeled premium, you would require a standalone license like the Power Apps per user plan or yeah, the Power Apps per flow plan. So you'd have to need those in for you to use this sort of services or connectors. And if you click here and you click on standard, you would see that you have the very basic Office 365 licenses. So this is a PAPS notification, PAPS trigger. Then here you'd see we have SharePoint, Outlook, OneDrive, Microsoft Forms, Planner, Teams, Outlook.com, Personal Outlook. Then also Google Calendar is here, Twitter is here, Dropbox, Trello, YouTube, like Pine, and several others that are standard. So you can actually use your out of the box license. That is the license that comes with the Power Ultimate license that comes with your Office 365. You can actually use it in this in building processes or automating workflows that would include only standard connectors. But once you start thinking premium, then it means you need a premium license, which is a standalone license. So if you go on that data, you'd see tables the way it is in Dataverse. And if you go on that connections, you would find connectors that you've established connections with. You'd find them here. And then if you go down to custom connector, so you can actually build custom connectors to connect to custom APIs, okay, that are either publicly available or accessible, okay, or that are within a particular application. So you can actually have established quite some connections with Outlook, Office 365 users, and Dataverse. Okay, so you can see gateways as well. Configured any, you would find them here. In my other tenant, I have quite some gateway configured to connect to some on-premise SQL. So for here in the test tenant, I don't have any. So it's just all blank. So you can get a new gateway. It will be downloaded and you can install right on your machine. So this is the AI Builder section. So I made mention of AI Builder earlier. So you can select and explore the several AI Builder that Microsoft has made available out of the box. Okay, and the ones that you can build yourself. So let's just wait a few seconds while these loads up. Yeah, so add artificial intelligence to your business. So you can see that we have extracting information from invoices, extracting all the text and in photos and PDF document. That's object character recognition, and also extracting information from receipt. Yeah, so all these are actually available. And for these ones that are custom, it means you can actually train this model yourself. Okay, you can train this model yourself. So we have also some sentiment analysis, category classification, different types of them, entity extraction, key face extraction, language detection, okay, and also prediction model, then object detection. I love this part so much, the object detection model. Then if you've trained and built your own model, you'd find them in this area, okay. If you've trained them, you'd find them here in draft, and if you've published them, it is then able for you to use and also share with other individuals. So this is how the Power Automate page looks like. Okay, so if you haven't been here before, this is how it looks like. So for AI Builder, you would need to start a trial. Yep, a 30-day trial. I believe the trial licenses will be for 30 days. So I think yeah, it's 9. So I believe Power Automate should also be 30 days. Okay, so let's dive right back into our deck. So we've seen quite a number of this and how they work. So let's proceed. Now, there are some important concepts that we should take note of when working with Power Automate. Okay, you need to know that your flows need to have triggers and also actions. Now, a trigger is the starting point, okay, of your flow. So a trigger could be that virtual button. It could be that time schedule that you have, okay, that the flow would start once it's that particular time. You can also have an event driven trigger, which is triggers such as when an item is deleted, when an item is modified in SharePoint, when an item is created in OneDrive, when a file is deleted in a SharePoint document library. Now, all of those are triggers as well. So the trigger is the starting action of your flow, while actions are the other things that you want to happen when your trigger condition is invoked. So if the flow triggers, then there should be an action, either sending of an email, sending of an approval, getting of some certain details or some certain information. So it is very important to note these two things. Now, these triggers and actions, they lie in your connectors. So you need to first of all understand what applications and services you want to connect to and what triggers and actions are available in them. So you can actually connect to those available triggers and actions then to build your entire Power Automate flow. And also you can add some other type of actions that are loops. You can add switch statements. You can add a do until. You can do an apply to each. Let's say in a case whereby you want to make changes or add or get values from an array of information of records, you can actually use the apply to each, and you can use expressions when you want to do things like concatenation, date and time conversion, splitting of a record from a particular group of data or body. You can actually use expressions in those sense. So when triggering or running the flow, okay, with Power Automate, you don't think of running the flow the same way you do with Power Apps. So instead, you perform the activity that triggers the flow to run. So you see that you do something to make the flow run, okay, which is if it's a SharePoint you're connected to as a trigger, then it means you need to do something, maybe create a file for the flow to run, or you need to delete a record in the SharePoint list for the flow to run, or submit a record in the SharePoint list for the flow to run. So you need to do something. Then for the onShare you can only set up the flow and it will trigger at a certain time. Then for button flow, so it's going to act as a virtual button. So you can actually push the button and it kickstart. If you have a Power Automate mobile, that makes it even more interesting because you can push you would see your button triggers on your Power Automate app that you install from your Play Store, Google Play Store, or the iOS Apple Store. You would see the buttons once you've installed your Power Automate app on your mobile device. So Shadow Cloudflow would look somewhat like this because you're basically adding time to your flow on when it should trigger. So it could be once a day, it could be every hour, every day. I wouldn't advise every minute, every day because your flow will run into what we call throttling, depending on the performance profile of your license. Okay, so you might want to look into things like I think the documentation of I think limits and configurations of your Power Automate. You'd actually know your licenses and the performance profile that you're currently in. Okay, let's see. So Emmanuel is asking again, please can you sign in into your other tenant? You'd like to see how gateway looks. Okay, awesome. So yeah, I can show you that. Yeah, so I'm going to show you that so you see how the gateway looks like. Okay, so if you have installed if you have a Power Automate mobile app installed, you'll be able to see your flows, even build flows from your mobile device, and you can even run flows, you can delete flows, you can manage flows from your mobile device. It's that interesting. You can create flows from your mobile device. Yeah, it's super interesting. Now let's look into business process flow. Now, business process flow, I want us to see it as a recipe. Now, for every business, there could be a process of, let's say, you needing to convert a lead to an opportunity. And for you to convert a lead to an opportunity, there might be some stages that the lead needs to pass through before the lead then convert to an actual customer, because a lead is just a potential customer. So you can actually have a business process. Okay, like I said, business process augment experience when you are building or using a model driven application or a data verse. So you're basically using a BPF to guide a user through the steps of your business processes when working in Dataverse or your model driven application. So in different stages of your business process flow, there are going to be what we call data steps. So these data steps will be columns from the table that you've connected to, because you know Dataverse, once you think Dataverse, you think table, either custom or standard tables. So you connect into tables, and then you're ensuring that at every stage you are actually having the right information being captured at every state. And it is very interesting because with business process flow, you can easily predict outcomes, and also you can know how long it took your users to complete a particular business process. Okay, so we'll be looking into the lab, but before we go into the lab where we're going to call it a day, I would show us, I would like to show my my other environment where I have the business process. Okay, I don't think it's this one. 1 second. Okay, I think it's here. 1 second. Okay, yeah, so it's this environment. So first of all, let me show you what the gateway looks like once you've installed it. So um okay, let me go to Power Apps first. Yep, Power Apps. So while this is loading, let me open up my gateway. I guess it could be outdated. So you need to all your gateway up to date, very important. So let me put in gate. Yeah, on-premise gateway. Yeah, so I have one. So I'm going to open it. Okay, so I'm now in my actual tenant. So I'll switch this environment to my most used environment, the MS Dev. Okay, and I would go straight into Dataverse, and under Dataverse, you would see gateways. So remember what I said about the gateway having a location that is very important. I mean, region that is important. So I have about 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have 4 gateways here. One of them I use for RPA. The other SQL. This is on my SQL server. So if the server is not on, yeah. So that's one thing again. If your server is not on, you can't access your gateway. So your gateway will not be able to connect to the data that you have on premise. So your server has to be on 247. So my server is not on 247 because it's not for production. So it's just for test. So I can put it on whenever I want to. So this for the SQL gateway, and this is the game on RPA. So let's see which one I have installed here. Okay, yeah. So I know it would definitely be outdated. So let me sign right back in. Okay. Okay, what's it saying? Request return unexpected error. Okay, let me check the email. Okay, there's a wrong character here. Limited on Microsoft.com. Yep. So I think we should be fine now. Okay. Yep, this one. Okay, so yeah. So this is so this is the one I use for RPA. Yeah, this machine I use for RPA. So this is my gateway. And if you look closely, you can see it's in West Europe. And it actually takes my default environment. So meaning that with this gateway, I can use this gateway in Power Apps, I can use it in Power Automate, and I can also use it in Power BI. Okay, so and because it's in this region. Now, it's in West Europe. My environment, or my tenant rather, is in Europe, and this particular environment that I have is in Europe. So if I should go to the admin center, um, okay, I think this should be another topic for another day, but let me just quickly cover it. Okay, so this is environment. And let me just quickly search or go to, yeah. So where is the MS Dev? MS Dev. Okay, yeah. So this is it, and it's in Europe. Okay, it's in Europe, so that's why I can see it. Now, if I should go to the environment in UK, this one AI farm, if I should come here, now I can see the RPA game on here. If I should change this to the AI farm, for instance, you would see that I wouldn't see the other one. Yeah, so I'm saying a different gateway entirely. So ensure your gateway matches the region of your environment so you can have a successful connection. Okay, and one last thing, you can also manage your gateways from your admin center since you started the conversation on gateway. So you can manage your data gateways from the admin center. Yeah, you can actually do that from here. So you can see here we have on-premise data gateway, and you can see all of it, the users that have shared it with, okay? And also you can see their status once you, let's say, refresh this. If they are online, yeah, so this is online. This other one should be offline definitely because their servers are not on. So this is how you can also manage your gateway, look into the details, manage your users, settings and the like. So you can actually still do a lot. Then here you can search for other regions. Okay, so this is how you can know your default region. Okay, yeah. So I think maybe I'll do something on gateway on another day. Okay, so let's dive right back into our lab. So I'm going to close this. Okay, think I have very few minutes left. So let's see how far we can go with the labs. So in this lab, we will be doing the building of an automated process. So we already know the issue with Bellows College, which is they would want to digitize their visitors registration system. So here, what we're going to do now is that we are going to so we've gone through all of this, so we are good. So we're going to be creating a visit notification flow. Now, remember, one of the requirements of college is that once you read, or let's say once a host registers their visitors, they want the visitors to get email notification. So that's what we are going to be building the flow around. So we're going to be building the cloud flow around just that. So let's get started. So in getting started, we're going to go to the Power Automate page, make dot, okay, yes, Power Apps. So you can use Power Automate Power Apps. You can build your flows from either locations, okay? It works, it works. So, yep, so we're going to go get started and we'll create an automated cloud flow because this is a flow that would execute when an event occurs. So it's going to be an automated cloud flow. So I'm going to go back to the top here, my flows, or create rather. You can start from my flows as well. You click on this drop down here, you would see that you have new flow and you can pick automated, instant, scheduled, or desktop. But here also you have a more visual of it, and then you can just use. So now I'm going to say my flow name should be what's the name of that process again? So I'm going to call the flow, where is it? Visit notification. So visit notification flow, and my trigger should be Dataverse. Okay, Dataverse. Now, if you do not want to choose from here, it's fine. Okay, you can search for your triggers here, and you can also skip. Okay, when you skip, it brings you to the flow UI designer. So at the top left here is where you can put back your flow name. Okay, at this left top area, and then right here we can now search for our trigger. So now we have the connectors tab. Okay, more visible for us to use. So here we are going to be choosing. Oh, sorry. Here we're going to be choosing a flow trigger for Dataverse, and it should be when a row is added, modified, or, and we should select added as the change type, and then we should pick the visit table. That is when a new record is a table in the organization scope, we want the flow to run, and then the trigger, we want to rename it to this here. So it means you can also rename every of your action. So I would pick the Dataverse trigger. Now, these are the three triggers that Dataverse has. And click on actions, you would see tons and tons of actions that you can perform. So as the first card on the flow, I would need to pick the trigger. So here I'm going to pick when a row is added, modified, or deleted in Dataverse. And then I will be selecting my change type to be added. So you can see we have several others. So I'll choose added. And then under the table name, I will be um, picking table. So you can search, visit rather. Under the tables, I'll pick visit and change the scope to organization. Then at this cancel. So at this top right, okay, on this ellipses, you can click on it to rename your flow, okay? So I'm going to rename the flow to when a visit is added. And there we go. So the next step in the flow is to get the visitor. And remember that the visitors will be stored in Dataverse, okay, in the contact table in Dataverse. So we'll go back to the flow and now select an action for Dataverse. And let's see. Okay, so we'll be picking the Dataverse and we'll be using get a row by ID action. And we'll use contact as the table name. And then we'll select a row ID field as a dynamic content. So now we'll start using dynamic content. Yep, so we'll use the visitor value and then we'll rename it to get visitor. So I would just dive right back. So to add a new step to your flow, you click on new step. Okay, the new step, we're then going to search. Okay, Dataverse is here, so we don't need to search. So Dataverse, and we are going to do get a row by ID because we want to get a record. Now we're getting the record from which table? We are getting it from the contact table. Sorry. Contact. So here it is. And then the row ID. So we'll be choosing the dynamic content. Okay. So here I'm gonna put ID. Okay, I think this is where we use the value. Yep. So visitors value. Okay. So if you click twice, it adds twice. So we just need it once. So this is it, and then I'm going to return this, rename it to get visitor. Now remember that in the business process, in the record that's in the model driven app we created, once you are creating a visit record, you select a visitor. So the visitor that was selected here or that was created in this process in the model driven app, we are going to be getting the visitor's details at this action because we need to send this visitor his code, okay, that he would use at the security entrance. So the next step is then to, let's go back to the instructions. So the next step, so this lab is still the same as we've been using since last week. So the last step is to create an email to the visitor. So we're sending an email and we're using Outlook 365, not Google this time around. So using Outlook and then send an email v2 is the name of the action that you're using. And then we'll add a dynamic content. In the tool field, we're going to use the email from the visitor, from the get visitors card. Okay, so what else? Okay, so then we'd add this as the subject. Would add this as the subject. Okay, then the email body will be this. So let's go back to our flow and pick an Outlook action. So I'll search for Outlook 365. There are two Outlooks, so be careful. So this is outlook.com and Outlook 365. So this is Outlook personal. Okay, so we're using this. And then I'm going to, yep, it's an action on the trigger. So send an email v2. So this is what we're using. You can see there are several actions, but let's just focus on this one for now. Invalidation. Okay, why is that? Okay, this connection problem. Okay. So that's how to fix a connection. If you have a connection issue, you can just come to this three dots, go to the connection and see, and you can click on it to re-authenticate. So in the tool field, now I can search for users within my organization. I can search for Aaron. Okay, I can search for many other users, but I want to send to this visitor here. So I would pick this to switch to dynamic content, add dynamic content. Now you can see my dynamic content tab is open, and under the get visitors action, I'm picking the email. That's the primary email of the visitor, which is will be here. Okay, then right here, the subject will be this. You can write into it. And in the email body, okay, you can switch to anchor tags and put in all you would like to put in there, okay, in let's say HTML structured format. And you can also type it in here as text. So I'm going to go back here and then copy all of this. Okay, however, we are going to replace the areas where we have first name with dynamic content, scheduled start date, and all of this would replace it with dynamic content. So let's go back into the flow, and then I would put in the here. Good. So let me change the alignment. Okay. Okay, I think this remains one. Okay, so the first name. So we'll replace this first name with the first name of the user. I mean, of the visitor. And the first name of the visitor, we can get it via the dynamic content. So here under dynamic content, you can search for first name. There's a column for first name. So here it is. And I would go to scheduled start. I would remove the scheduled start time and the search here for start. Where is it? Start. Yep. So this is it. So when the item is added, so the scheduled start record will be passed. So we are feeding it back into the action of sending of the email. So the person gets a full details of his visit. Then the second is the scheduled end. So we're telling in the start time and the end time. So I would put this in here. Oh, it came in twice, so I would remove one. Then a code will be generated. So, and let me just add this line. Present this code at the, let me just put at the gate. Okay. So here I will then search for code. And this is it. So the code was an auto-generated auto-numbering column, which we added to the visitors table. So this is it. And let's go ahead and save our flows. But I think I need to rename this. Let me see what name it should be. 1 second. What should be the name of the flow? Okay, we are not naming the flow. So we can say send email to visitor, rename, send email to visitor, enter. Okay, so okay, the GitHub link will be shared again in the chat. So this is our very simple flow, and I'm going to save. Now to trigger this flow, so I'm going to then navigate to the model-driven application. So let's go to the model-driven application. So to go there, we'll go to our apps page. Okay, yeah, this is the Canvas app. So my model-driven app is where is it? Yeah, so this is it, Bellows Campus Management. So I'm going to play the app by clicking on it. So I'm going to create a new record now. So this is the visit table path. So I'm going to create a new visit. So remember, our flow will trigger when a new visit is created. So that's what I would do. So I'm creating a record by clicking on new at the top here. So this visit, let me say official with dean of students. Come on. Okay. Official meeting with dean of students. And as you can see, I'm the host, so I am registering the record, so it captures my details automatically. Then the visitor, so the visitor will be who? So I need to create a visitor now because the visitor does not exist. So I'll click on new, and this is it would open up a quick create contact form for me. So I'll create a contact for, let's say, okay, Emmanuel has been the one asking questions. So I'll put Emmanuel, and yeah, so Emmanuel is our visitor for today. So the last name I can do IT as the surname, and yeah, I think email. So for email, I would use my own email, so we can actually see what the email will look like. Passing my email here. 1 second. Let me get the email from here. Oh, sorry. Where's my model driven app? Okay, so I'll pass in the email here. Okay, so that's the email, and I'm clicking on save. Okay, so I've created a new contact record. Okay, so it found duplicate record, so I'll just ask it to merge. Okay, because the email is the same. Okay, let me just tell it to ignore and save. Yeah, so this is one of the amazing features of the model-driven app. In fact, Dataverse, because that's Dataverse controlling its record. So now we have Emmanuel as a visitor. Then the start time should be today at 8 a.m. The end time should be today still, but at gonna pick 8:30 p.m. So these are just the required fields, and I'm going to, so no code is generated yet. So if I should click save, it will now generate a code which is today's date and the unique ID for this particular visit. So this is what the security team will be taking a look at, and the visit is official meeting with the dean of students, and then this is our visitor. Oh, that was fast. So my email is in. So let's look at what the email looks like. So it says your Bellows College, your schedule visit to Bellows College, and here it says, dear Emmanuel, you're currently scheduled to visit Bellows College from this time. We can convert this time, okay, to a more readable format. Well, yeah, we can convert this. Then present this code at the gate. That is this unique ID for the visit. So best regards. So this is the automation process for Bellows College. So the visitor gets this email before then coming head to the campus for a visit. So let me go back here. So yeah, so that's it basically. So that's all about Power Automate for today. So even in here, you can search for. Check. Let me start for official. Yeah. So it brings that official meeting with the dean of student. Okay. So yeah. So that's all for today. With respect to Power Automate, and if you also want to look at how your flow performed, you can click on this back navigation here. Okay, you would have the detail screen of the flow. Okay, where you're going to see the status of your flow, if it's on or if it's off. And also, if you scroll down, you'd see it's an automated cloud flow. It runs with the owner's plan. And at the bottom here, where you have 28 days run history, you would see that the flow has a time. Now, one cool thing Microsoft did is to bring in the edit column functionality, whereby you can actually add, let's say, a status code or some other information that you'd like to see on this view that you're having. Okay, yeah. So that's another interesting thing Microsoft just brought into play. So I'm the owner of the flow, and to see how the flow fared or how it performed, I can click on this date here, okay, under the 20 days run history, and I would see every step of the action. So yeah, I saw that my flow started, okay, and in the body, you can click on show output, so you can see quite more information. So it means this record of body, okay, this is a JSON formatted script, okay, it's JSON, so it's lightweight, and this is what Power Automate uses to communicate. So this is the schema name for the that's the visit name column in Dataverse, and also this is the schema of the scheduled start, and you see that it goes the same for the rest, the code that was created, and I think some other things, scheduled end and the likes here. So the next step now is that you can minimize this by scrolling down and clicking on this tab to minimize your flow action. So let's see the user that was gotten. So the flow went into the contact table and got the user that we created at the top here in our application. So it got the Emmanuel user, it got the email, and also the last name of Emmanuel. And back here, let me minimize again. Then in the email that was sent, in the email we have the tool field populated with email, which is my email just for test. And then we have the subject, and also we have the body. So if there is an error message, you can actually track the error message because these will turn red. And on the right navigation, you would have what the error message and the error code says in the case of you having to troubleshoot. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our class today. So thank you very much for joining, and hope to see you possibly next week. So do enjoy the rest of your day. So before we go, let me see if we have any other question. Okay, have any question in the chat? But the video will be available on YouTube and on LinkedIn, so you can actually drop in your messages, and I'll do well to respond to them as possible and to the best of my knowledge. So thank you very much, everyone, and do enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend ahead. Bye.